Hey everybody, buckle up. We're breaking down Russia's exposure of the Su-57 weapons bay at the Dubai Air Show on November 9th, 2025. They rolled out the Su-57. It's their stealthy 5th-gen fighter. And for the first time in 15 years, they popped open that weapons bay. They popped the top. And they showed off some serious firepower. We're talking about the KH-58 anti-radiation missile and the R-74M2 air-to-air missile. They were all just tucked in, nice and stealthy, nice and cozy in that weapons bay. To me, this isn't just a flex, though, for the airshow crowd. It's a signal to Ukraine, to NATO, and to export markets like Algeria that Russia's basically playing hardball at this point. So why are they doing this now? Well, there's sanctions that are choking their economy. Ukraine's drones are hitting Moscow hard. They're hitting Russian territory, and Moscow's pushing the Su-57 as a game changer for the conflict, so they have a better negotiating position, and to sell it, to export it. They want to make money off this thing. So we're going to dive into what makes this jet tick, its weapons, its threats, what we just saw in that weapons bay, and how it would go nose to nose with Western fighters. This bird's got some serious thrust. I mean, we've seen it. I'll do a full breakdown of a few different scenes of it actually flying at the air show as well. And I'll use my experience of being an airshow pilot on the Thunderbirds to break down what I'm seeing from the Su-57. But first, let's just talk about the structure of this jet. So it's Russia's answer to the F-22 and the F-35. Like, we've always known that. It's built by Sukhoi under the United Aircraft Corporation, the UAC. It first flew in 2010 as a T-50 prototype. It's a twin-engine, single-seat stealth fighter jet that's designed for air superiority and for ground attack. The airframe's got a blended wing body design with internal weapons bays to keep its radar cross-section as low as possible. So think stealthy, or think actually sneaky, not stealthy, but not invisible. So they want it to be a full 5th-gen stealth jet to be on the same level of the F-35 and the F-22, basically the size of a marble on a radar scope, but it's not quite that stealthy. But I would call it a 4+ jet when it comes to how it stands up against radars. It's 66 feet long, it's got a 46-foot wingspan, and it weighs about 40,000 pounds empty. It's got two AL-41 F1 turbofan engines that crank out 33,000 pounds of thrust each, and they push a max speed of 1,600 miles per hour, or Mach 2.1. That's probably the biggest strength of this thing. And there's actually now new nozzles shown in this image here that show that they are trying to upgrade their stealth on this thing, so it looks a little more reminiscent of the F-22. This was a recent revelation, and again, Russia's putting out as much positive propaganda about the Su-57 as they possibly can. I mean, why not? They're updating the engines, they want to sell it, and basically with these new engines, it probably increases its altitude a lot. So if the ceiling on this thing before was 60,000 feet, you're probably pushing 70,000 feet or so with new engines that have thrust vectoring nozzles that give it even more agility. So we've seen the agility in the air show itself, we see how it can turn and burn, but with these new nozzles, maybe it can turn and burn in a similar fashion and actually be stealthy. But it's stealth like we talked about. It's not as polished as the F-35. Hey everybody, quick break from the video. I want to tell you about Winglore Spirits Company. It's a fighter pilot owned and operated brand. It's owned by fighter pilots Carlos, Stroke, Tripp, and Easy, and this brand is awesome. They have intertwined everything from the fighter pilot community into their brand, right down to the way that the bottles look. The stories and the lore behind the fighter pilot community have been intertwined into Winglore Spirits in a way that I really haven't seen with any other brand. That's why I'm so excited to partner with them. You can actually invest in their company by clicking this QR code, or you can also grab, the best holiday gift that I could really think of for anybody who's over 21. You got to be 21 plus. Again, this holiday season is kicking off. If you want something unique, click that link in the description to learn more about the brand. And if you want to invest in the company and become an owner of what I think is going to be a skyrocketing company, I've actually invested myself. Just click the link in the description. It'll take you right there. Thanks so much for checking out Winglore Spirits, and I'm very proud to partner with them. Now back to the video. Likely only about 20 jets have been delivered to Russia by 2025, but the new Su-57M with the AL-F1 F1 engines, those new nozzles, they promise more thrust and efficiency, but again, that's still a prototype. So it's got the ability to go out there and take care of business, but it's got some growing pains, and we've seen that through the production of the Su-57, the entire story, the novel of the Su-57, we've seen that it's got some growing pains. But this Dubai Airshow reveal, it's no joke. I mean, it is a very capable aircraft, and we saw it. The star of the show was the Su-57 and its two main weapons bays. As we see here, they're each holding two KH-58 USHK, that's the official designation, anti-radiation missiles. Those are 1,400-pound beasts. They have folding fins for stealth, and they can hit radar sites up to 150 miles away when they're launched up high especially. They're going to glide in. They're going to use those wings to go in and schwack pretty much any target that Russia sees as a threat. They're going to at least attempt to do it. There's some ways to shoot those things down. We'll get to those a little bit later. But those are basically built for SEAD. There you go, your first acronym, the suppression of enemy air defenses, meaning they hunt NATO-supplied radars in places like Ukraine. That's the main place, and that's why they showed those off. They're basically saying, hey, Ukraine, we can hunt your NATO-supplied radars with these new weapons. The Felon also carries R-74 M2 short-range air-to-air missiles in its two quick-launch side bays, which we see in the images as well. Those pop out to lock on when you're in a dogfight, and potentially high off bore sight, being able to shoot to the side, above, maybe even potentially behind with the different sensors that the Su-57 has in its rearward quadrant. It's also got the R-77M and the new Isadel 810 missiles. Both of those are designed for internal carriage to keep it stealthy. Again, you got to be able to keep this thing stealthy. You can throw a lot of things on the wings, on the sides, and then you're just going to have basically a third or fourth generation fighter on your hands. But on the ground attack side, you've got the KH-69 cruise missile and the CAB-250L guided bombs, plus the KH-38M for precision strikes. Again, they want to use this thing in a multi-role fashion. They don't want it to just be a one-trick pony and be only an air-to-air superiority jet. That's why it's also got this 30-millimeter cannon, which carries about 150 rounds, that handles close-in work for dogfights, but it could also strafe targets on the ground. Its guidance, its actual guts, the avionics comes from a mix of radar, infrared, and electro-optical systems, but autonomy is very limited. No AI intertwined into the jet itself, and none intertwined into the weapons. And this day and age, if you fire a weapon and the enemy moves, you really need the ability for AI to go find it, seek it out, and actually make it happen. So the Su-57, who's it actually built for, and who is it staring down? Who's in the crosshairs of the Su-57? And what did that air show in Dubai show us the Su-57's next target is going to be? Well, it's focused on Ukraine, and Ukraine's putting up jets against it. They've got MiG-29s, F-16s, they've got Mirage 2000s, Gripens potentially rolling in extremely soon, and then the drones that could go up against this thing. The Bayraktar TB2 built in Turkey, that is a headache for this jet's cruise missiles. They might be able to actually strike the cruise missiles being launched from the Felon. And again, Ukraine, Russia, that's the head-to-head matchup. That's the number one priority, I believe, of Russia showing this thing off. They're trying to intimidate Ukraine, and they're showing them, hey, we're on a global stage now with you, and we're going to show that this jet is very effective so that we can sell it to a lot more people. But then Ukraine's got the support of Polish F-35s, which do a lot of missions near the border of Ukraine. They might even be coming into Ukraine and striking down Russian drones. And those F-35s are rotating squadrons from NATO that can roll in and compete with that Su-57. But now we've got Algeria as the wild card rolling in. Algeria is like, hey, don't forget about us. We're this little country in northern Africa. They want to buy 6 to 14 Su-57Es, and they've committed to those. And deliveries are actually expected in 2025 or early 2026. And then Iran is obviously always sniffing around, seeing what they can get, maybe if this would be something that they could use. But sanctions are scaring off most buyers because the ability for Russia to provide parts, to provide service could be very highly degraded with these different sanctions being put on Russia. So Russia pitches the Su-57 as a counter to Western air dominance, of course, but slow production, tech gaps. It means to me it's basically more bark than bite at this point. It's like this jet's got big dreams, but it's just been playing catch up for years, going kind of straight up into the vertical like that. And then if you intertwine the new engines that it's going to have, very capable. And then again, that big wanker thing in the back could be an electronic countermeasure, could be a rearward facing radar. And from the back, this jet itself is not very stealthy at all. It's almost got just pure fourth generation engines on it. But if it's updated, now you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going up against a pretty formidable foe, as you can see how tight it can turn. So very capable aircraft, as you can see it right there. This is actual footage from that Dubai Air Show, and I'll do a full breakdown video on that, so stay tuned for just a complete reaction video. But for now, I want to get a little bit more into a hypothetical situation on how this jet could be used, because again, they're showing off the weapons base, okay? So picture this: tensions in Ukraine and Russia remain red hot. No deal can be done in late 2025 and into 2026. I hope it can be, but for this situation, we'll say that it's not being done. So Su-57s are forward deployed to Belarus, a very strong ally of Russia. They're just about 100 miles from Kyiv. Intel picks up chatter about a NATO-supplied Patriot battery near Lviv, and it's lighting up Russian drones, striking them out of the sky. Moscow, now knowing how strategic this point is, they greenlight a seed mission using the Su-57. 4 Su-57s take off. Each are loaded with 2 Kh-58 missiles in their main base and R-74s in the side base. They cruise in at over 50,000 feet, and that's where they're going to try to complicate the problem for the Patriot. Patriot can reach up there, but again, the higher you get, the less likely it is of actually striking these things. Likely some stealth qualities of that Su-57 are going to keep them off of Ukraine's scopes for at least a time. But then at 100 plus miles out, the Su-57s pick up the Patriots' radar signal. The lead Su-57, call sign Vlad-1, opens up the main weapons bays and fires a Kh-58, and it screams toward the target at Mach 3. Its folding fins then deploy. This missile's passive radar seeker locks on, and then boom, a Patriot radar dish could be toast. Ukraine scrambles its Mirage 2000s, but the Felon's R-77s take them out from 60 nautical miles away. But the Su-57s are smart. They get out as fast as possible. They start to get away. They go low. Some of them go low. Some of them go high to try to distract the NASAMS, the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, an even upgraded missile system from the Patriot. The battery of those missiles fires off, and it clips 2 of the Su-57s. 2 of them make it back. 2 of them are now shredded metal laying on the border between Russia and Ukraine. NATO's now got Felon debris to study. Russia claims it's a win because they took down a Patriot missile battery, but again, it just heats things up. So let's talk about a second hypothetical situation. Algeria has taken delivery of its first 6 Su-57Es. Russia's dumbed them down slightly, but just avionics-wise, the capability and the maneuverability of the jet is exactly the same. But Algeria wants to flex at a joint exercise with China near the South China Sea. The mission is a simulated strike, a training mission teamed up with China, so operating with China, and Russia loves this because, again, it could be a message to China to go ahead and buy some of these things. But they're about 500 miles off of the mainland of China. The Felons launched from a coastal base, and they're each carrying Kh-69 cruise missiles that are internally, and they also have external fuel tanks for range. They climb to 60,000 feet, dodging commercial air traffic, and at 200 miles out, they descend to 10,000 feet to avoid radar in this training situation. The Kh-69s launch, hitting dummy targets with pinpoint accuracy. But at this point, the U.S. is monitoring the entire thing from an E-2D Hawkeye that is lurking in the distance. The E-2 picks up the jets because their external tanks mess with their stealth ability. And then 2 F-35Cs from a nearby carrier scramble, and they lock on with AIM-120s from 80 miles plus. They launch their advanced AIM-120s. The Su-57s, now knowing they're in a real-life situation, they jink, they punch off their tanks, and they fire R-74s in self-defense. The F-35s evade these missiles using electronic countermeasures contained within the F-35, and 2 Su-57s go down. The exercise ends, and it's now a real-world standoff. China is now in the heart of this. They're slightly impressed by the ability of those Su-57s to strike those dummy targets, but they see them take real-world hits from F-35s, and this is a huge win for the US and for Western air dominance. So I know that situation is a little bit wild, but we never know what we could find ourselves in. And the Su-57's big moment at the Dubai Air Show, it's flashing its weapons base to flex on Ukraine and woo export buyers. It's a slick jet to me. This is a very capable aircraft, and it's got a very serious mission, but it's up against NATO's and NATO's numbers of the F-35. 1,000 F-35s are out there lurking, just waiting, wanting to take down the Su-57. But Russia's playing the long game, and the Felon, to me, is kind of their ace card when it comes to air superiority for now. I think they're going to try to produce many more of these, especially if sanctions are lightened. And even if the Ukraine-Russia war ends, I think they will ramp up production, and they'll use the Su-57 as their test bed for their potential follow-on 6th-generation fighter. What do you think we're going to see Russia use the Su-57 for? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear what you have to say. And then go ahead and follow me on Instagram and follow me on X to learn more. And then watch one of these videos right here. If you watch this video right here, it helps the channel grow exponentially, and I would greatly appreciate it. So I'll see you on this video right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.